So we're on the last part of hoof 6A, and this was the hoof that had like a dog's leg coming out at the front here, and I thought was showing chronic laminitis, and the rings were quite prominent. Let's have a look at the back of the foot. So there's the front, and we're going to work our way towards the back. So I needed to turn this round to get this into the view. So this is the front of the foot, this is the toe area here, and we're just moving along. So this is the P3, or the coffin bone. This looks like, I think that must be, yeah, this here is the deep digital flexor tendon, where it is actually attaching to the bottom of the coffin bone. And as we move along a little bit more, this is the digital cushion coming through here. And these are all the lovely blood supply. You can see it really clear through there. And this here, all this white, is the cartilage, the collateral cartilage through here. And there seems to be, in this digital cushion, there seems to be some fibrocartilage here, all this white through here. And as we go further to the back of the foot, so this is where the bulb would be, and this is all the cartilage at the back of the foot. And it's all these are blood vessels that are running through the cartilage, and that's why it looks like this. Again, the lamina are really beautifully presented around there. I'm really intrigued about the deep digital flexor tendon, which is just starting to appear through here, and it attaches onto the bottom of the coffin bone. I'm intrigued at how this attaches, because that is incredibly strong, and that has massive forces applied to it. I mean, can you imagine the sort of forces that has on that attachment? I mean, it's just an absolute marvel of engineering. So let's have a look at the next slice in. Turning it over, and what we're starting to see now, this is the navicular bone. This is the bottom of the navicular bone, which is starting to appear. And this here, this is the tendon. This is the little tendon that attaches the navicular bone to the coffin bone. You can just see the strands there. So you see, when we have issues with that tendon, you can see it's lots of little strands, and so you could damage a little strand very easily. And the problem is you then get scar tissue growing in there, because the tendon never grows back to tendon. And so that's when you have the tendon is compromised, because it's got a scar tissue. And so this here is the deep digital flexor tendon that's starting to peek through. And I can tell that it is, because I can see it's got this lovely shiny surface. It articulates here with the navicular bone, which I've just pushed out of the way. This is just a little piece of ice. This would actually be the navicular bursa, which is a little sac of fluid. That's probably what that is. And it's a bit sticky. So this is the deep digital flexor tendon. You can actually see all the lines in it, because it's made up of lots and lots of fibres. Then we have the digital cushion through the back here. There seems to be lots of fibres across here as well. And I'm thinking that these are the fibrocartilage, like that trampoline effect that you get across the back of the foot, to suspend and help suspend the bony column through there. And here we have the beautiful cartilage, and that's much bigger at this point, and there seems to be less blood vessels going through. So this is the back of the coffin bone. These are like the wings of the coffin bone are starting to appear. This is the very edges of the wings of the coffin bone. And so here is the cartilage as it's attaching around here and working its way around the back. I really need to look at a few which are healthy and get a better idea of what I'm looking at. So now we're going to the next slice in, going towards higher up the foot, and let's have a look at this one. So what we're seeing here, this is the coffin bone through here. This is like the wing that goes back of the coffin bone. This is the navicular bone through here, and this is the digital cushion and the cartilage through here. So what are we seeing at this point? Because we knew that, we thought that the laminitis, you know, with the stretching away, was further down, and I can see a really good blood supply through here. You know, can see all these little holes where the blood supply is all the way round there, and I'm just wondering if that is sort of being torn apart or not at this point. I'm not really quite sure whether it has, but it still is a really cool image to look at, to see that blood supply through there. And we can also see that there's quite an important blood vessel here as well at the side of the navicular bone. That's this one here and here. So let's turn this over, and then we're on the last segment really. So this is the bit that's almost at the top. So again, we can see the cartilage through here with less blood supply through. So this is P3, this is the very top part of P3 here, and this is the navicular bone here, and you can see it's that strange sort of shape. And then I think this, what we're seeing starting to come through now, is the short pastern at this point. So all we're seeing at this point looks like just the cartilage part of it. Yes, it's just a tiny little remnant of that short pastern, just there. We can see some significant blood supply through the back here, these 3 holes there. And if that's the navicular bone there, then this is the deep digital flexor tendon, which is running around the back. And yes, you can just about see it running through there, through that back part. So if I turn it over, that's what that looks like through there. So that means that this is the digital cushion at that point there. And the funny thing is this little bit's just fallen out now, and look, it's just a piece of cartilage. It's just the very edge, the cartilage part that's on the edge of the short pastern. Look at that, it's very, very bendy. There's a tiny little bit of bone there, but minutest amount. That just shows you what the cartilage looks like. The cartilage that's on the edges of bones, so that bones can glide across each other. And what's also cool about this view is if you have a look here, this is all, would be synovial fluid, which is fluid which is between the joints. Now this is all now this is all frozen, but you can now see the joints quite beautifully through there. So what we're looking at in this view, we're looking at the flexor surface of the coffin bone, this here, and some of the surface there of the navicular bone, and then we're going to have the short pastern, which is going to be sitting there. That's quite a lovely view of the articular surfaces of the cartilage, which is surrounding the bones and around those joints. If I pull this up a little bit more, so if this is the navicular bone here, we're seeing the deep digital flexor tendon, which is this structure here running across here. That's a little bit of ice. So there, that's the deep digital flexor tendon that runs underneath the navicular bone. So that's the articular surface of the navicular bone here, just half of it. What astounds me is how thin the cartilage is here on that navicular bone. Look at it, it's, gosh, it's probably less than 1 millimeter thickness through there. Just seems amazing that it can withstand this tendon going backwards and forwards across it, and it just doesn't wear it out. You know, I'd expected to see some serious damage on that, but although it's very thin, and maybe that is pathological, there doesn't seem to be any holes, but it is incredibly thin, you know, for sure. I can almost see the bone poking through there, the colours. So I suppose the question, have we answered the question about was this laminitis? Well, this part here was where there was like a really big kink, and you can actually see there's like lines through here where the dog's legs started, through this bit here. So I think that this was where the hoof wall was growing down, and this was relatively good, and I think this was historical laminitis. And so if we look at that exact part there, well, what we are seeing is we are seeing this little bit here, which I mentioned before. We're seeing that the coffin bone has got a bit out of it, and it just looks a bit, well, a bit red and raging around there. And then if we look at the other side, you know, if we could sort of think that this was a sort of a mirror image, it doesn't look that healthy. You know, it just, this coffin bone is not nice and smooth. There seems to be some lumps out of it. So if I was going to have to place a bet on this, I would say that that was a laminitic event, which is what we're seeing here at this point.